Hey Dudes and Dudettes, Mr. Theorist here, and this looks exactly like the previous video. It's because I'm literally filming these back to back. As I say, trying to get a little better at making content for you guys. So this video is kind of a part 2 to my Matrix Resurrection review video, which is whether or not there should be a sequel to Resurrection, and if so, what could that look like? I combine those two things because personally in my head I know that the first half would be a very short video, but I think incorporating these two things might make this video a bit more interesting for you guys. So, should there be a sequel to Resurrections? Now, you're probably thinking I'm just going to go, yes. Well, maybe is probably the more prominent answer here. Depends on what you want. Now, this video was a debatable video on whether to make this video. Because I toyed with the idea and I thought maybe if you guys hear my thought patterns, it might make it a bit more interesting. So, why only a maybe? Well, let's look at Matrix Resurrection in itself. As I said in my previous video, it is very much a film that lies heavily on the trilogy that came before. And to that end, it feels very much like a bookend to the Matrix story. Is that yes, we still have the Matrix existing, humanity to some degree is kind of still oppressed by the machines, but we now know there is some level of peace between them. And the Neo and Trinity story, for me personally, I think is complete. I don't think there is any more story that really could be told with them. Like, if Keanu Reeves wishes to return, cool. But I think that, personally, as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to get some more Matrix films, the first thing we have to do is not have Neo or Trinity in it. Morpheus not being in it, the fact that they came up with this cool notion as to why Lawrence Fishburne couldn't play Morpheus, or maybe they're deliberately setting up for a sequel, I don't know. But as far as you're concerned at this moment in time, Lawrence Fishburne didn't return for whatever reason. And they came up with a fun idea of having Agent Morpheus. So, that was really cool, but I definitely feel that Neo and Trinity's story is complete. Now, if you see the Matrix films as it is Neo's story, then do we have your answer? Is that because Neo's story is basically complete now, he has his love. He completed his prophecy in the trilogy, in the previous trilogy, and saved mankind to a degree. Or at least did basically free mankind, essentially. So, as far as I'm concerned there, it was done. There's no reason to do another trilogy after this film. However, looking at it as Neo and Trinity not being in it, and I'll allude to that when I talk about the idea of what I would expect from a trilogy, in a minute, is I think we could do another sequel, or at least another sequel, if not another trilogy, as in 2 more films. Or even just another trilogy altogether. This could be like a reset film for a new trilogy, as in 3 more films, which could be interesting. I don't think there's ever been a saga where they've had kind of like a reset movie between 2 different trilogies. So that could be an interesting new thing Hollywood could try and go for. Anyway, I think there is still a lot more that can be explored in the world of the Matrix. So, I think as far as should there be a new trilogy depends on what you perceive to be the main story of the Matrix films. Now, if the main story for you is Neo and his journey, no, there doesn't need to be another Matrix trilogy. Doesn't even need to be another sequel. Now, if you are like me, and it's the world building, it's the discovering new elements of the world and mysteries that have not been fully fleshed out yet, I'm always up for more. Like Star Wars, the new trilogy that happened, killed it for a lot of fans to a certain degree, especially when they first came out. But I'm always intrigued because I always enjoy a film franchise that kind of explores its outer universes. But yeah, in a bit more. So that's very interesting. And we have fun characters like Bugs, the new female lead character. She's really interesting. Agent Morpheus, again, a really interesting concept. Like, he enters into the real world because of this tech that exists. And he is a combination of two separate characters. Really interesting. So that's really a fun thing to explore. And the fact that Io is the new human world, the new human city, and Zion isn't, that intrigues me a lot. And that kind of leads me nicely into what would I want from another Matrix sequel. Now, this is pure headcanon. This is me spitballing ideas. You might look at it and go, that doesn't sound great. This is just me personally. This is how I would set up at least the beginnings of a new film. I can't say that I've got a whole synopsis for another sequel or another trilogy set up. If you guys want to see that, I could try and put a headcanon trilogy together, which might be interesting. But for now, hear me out as an ending to this nice little two-part video. How would a new sequel kind of begin to look? And what I would do personally, from what they've left set up and the information we've been given from this film, Matrix Resurrection, is I would start the movie out with basically a new peace treaty being created. Now that we have Neo and Trinity, I know I said I wouldn't have them in, but hear me out, I'll be getting to this. Now that Neo and Trinity are basically like the powerhouses of the Matrix world, they basically run the Matrix reality now. So now we have General Niobe, who runs Io, the human world. We have Neo and Trinity, who are basically the rulers of the Matrix world. And we have the Analyst, who is the head machine of the machine world. Or maybe Smith is, we're not quite sure. But you have these three factions, kind of. And basically, I would do is there would be peace. The beginning of the film would be that the machines and the humans have just decided, you know what, there is no point in us having a war with each other anymore. You have Io, we'll have the machine world, we'll let this Matrix run and play its course. We'll keep making humans and having them be battery sources. But if any minds become free, they are freed. Now that sounds really nice. It's like a really nice way that the whole Matrix world could end, with not the complete destruction of mankind, not the complete destruction of the machines, but like an equilibrium existing between the two. Unfortunately, from what we knew in Matrix Resurrection, is there are humans in this world that don't agree to that peace. That's definitely the feel I got from the Zion, is that people left Zion because there were people that couldn't accept this peace between mankind and machines. And I think you could set them up as to be kind of the new threat. And if you were to do a new trilogy, it would be an interesting flip on its head. The first trilogy is about humans trying to survive a machine apocalypse. When you find out there's more to it than that. And where this new trilogy could be, it is trying to find a peace, but when there's still bigotry, there's still those that don't agree that us and them should coincide together. Those of you that understand where I'm going with here see that it would be a very political, philosophical movie, basically how the previous trilogy was, but there would be new debates. It would be a debate on is there really a distinction between us and them? Because there are distinctions between us and them, does that mean that we can't live in peace, or can we find peace between us? And in order for us to find peace, in order for us to move on and become better as humans, as machines, as entities, as spiritual beings, as we know the machines are from the trilogy, then in order for us to reach a new level of enlightenment where we could all coexist, maybe the Matrix world is the final endpoint, is at first we have to face the problems that cause the division between us. Is that humans will have to accept that they are part of the problem. That they created AI and there was a peace, but if you're going to create sentient life, if you're going to allow beings to freely think for themselves, you can't you can't then judge them if they then break away and don't like what you are. They don't like the fact you control them. Even if you give them life, even if you give them existence, Like, and I know I'm pulling a lot on the animatrix stuff, and it would have to canonize a lot of the animatrix stuff, which technically they are canon, especially with the fact that machines can like the programs can exist in the real world, and definitely felt like the animatrix stuff, there was a lot to it. And the fact in that we found about how the sky was dark and stuff. So I think that there would be a lot of philosophical discussions about who are the real villains, are there any real villains, at what point do you stop blaming others for the actions of your ancestors and you accept it yourself, that if you aren't willing to make the change and accept your ancestors were part of the problem, that technically you are still part of the problem. And I think that would be really good, especially for a new 21st century saga, because it would lay out a lot of the beats that we are all currently facing in ourselves in the world currently. A lot of the problems we have, especially in the western side of the world, is a level of control, is we are controlled because there is an us versus them mentality, and that maybe by not accepting that the world does need to change and trying to keep it as it is, we are still part of the problem. So yeah, that would, to me personally, that's what I would do with a new sequel / trilogy of Matrix. But anyway guys, they are my thoughts, and this is my video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have, please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're not already part of this channel. And I will catch you guys in the next video very soon. Bye!